Good morning, friends. This is a brief note on intellectual property rights. In present day, the property, both corporeal and incorporeal, have lot of demand. In fact, intellectual properties is gaining more and more demand, and because of which there are so many legal issues also happening. Since the land is limited, the real property is limited. Now, the expansion of the intellectual property is growing bounds and bounds. There is an organization called International Organization, that is a World Intellectual Property Organization, which is a body of United Nations organization, which is established in 1974, headquarters at Geneva. For the intellectual properties, some of the oldest conventions are the Paris Convention in 1883 and Berne Convention in 1886. These conventions discussed both the copyrights, all those rights which are related to arts and lectures, as well as the design and industrial manufacturing related copyrights. The concept of the property. Property is any item that a person or business has a legal title over it, and property is a tangible like houses, cars, appliances, and they're also intangible. Intangible is the one which is with the intellect, which thought of a, it is a work of a brain or a thought processes. And when we are talking about the concept of the property and concept of the right, concept of the ownership, these are all some of the important things which are related to the intellectual property rights. Concept of the right, it is a power or a privilege held by a person or a public as a result of a constitutional statute, regulations, judiciary, or any other type of a law. It is a legally enforceable claim held by somebody. And with respect to the ownership, ownership refers to the legal right of an individual or a group or a corporation or the government to possess a particular thing. The subject of the ownership are two. One is the material and immaterial, that is the corporeal, incorporeal. And incorporeal are something like intangible, like a patent, copyright, trademark act. They are all the intellectual property rights. And corporeal is the property, land, book, whatever the material. With this introduction, let us discuss related to the intellectual property. What is the intellectual property? Intellectual property, it pertains to any original creation of a human intellect, such as an artistic, literary, technical, scientific creation. Intellectual property rights refers to the legal rights given to the particular creator or inventor to protect his own invention or creation for certain period of time. These are the legal rights conferred as exclusive rights to the inventor or created by the authority, so that by assignment of these rights, the person who has created can fully utilize for a given period of time. And what is intellectual property rights? These are all the rights which are defined as ideas, inventions, creations, expressions based on which a public willingness to bestow the status of the property. These rights have the asset value, hence they are called the properties. These properties have the exclusive rights to the inventors or creators in order to enable them to reap the commercial benefits for their creations or whatever the reputation, and it also allows them to get a reputation, not only the commercial benefits but also the reputations. Basically, intellectual property rights refers to the legal rights given to the inventor for his invention. Now, what are the intellectual rights that are available in India, particularly relevant to the various acts? Basically, there are 7 intellectual property rights for which an act has been established by the Government of India. The first one is a Copyrights Act in 1957. Then there are several other acts. We'll briefly discuss about these acts. What is a Copyright Act? Copyright Act is an exclusive right that is granted to a person to do or authorized to carry out certain activities with regards to the copyrighted work. For example, a literary work, a dramatic, a musical, or any kind of a artistic work. There is a limit for the right. The duration for this type of a right is 60 years from the death of the author or the creator. So long is life, it is authorized to have the right, and even after his or her death also, up to the 60 years, the right is given to that particular person. Once the 60-year period is over, then it becomes a public. There are certain international conventions were held on the Copyright Act, and important is the Universal Copyright Act Convention in 1952 held in Geneva, and Berne Convention in 1989 at the Berne. Another intellectual property right is the Trademarks Act 1999. This is the act established in 1999. This Trademark Act, it is defined as a mark capable of being represented geographically and which is capable of distinguishing the goods and services of a person or an organization from those which are differentiating with the others. And this trademark may include the shape of the goods or a packaging or a combination of the colors. In simple words, the trademark provides the protection for the symbols, colors, shapes, words, etc. This is an exclusive right, exclusive word to identify their property with others, so that it can also can be used as a commercially interested property right. Duration for this, virtually it is unlimited. However, the renewal has to be done for every 10 years. The important international conventions are the Paris Convention, Madrid Convention, and Nice Agreement. The next IPR is the Patent Act 1970, which is called the Patents Act. A patent is again a IPR which protects any new invention. It is an exclusive right that protects the rights of the inventor and prevents other people to unauthorizedly use and misappropriate this registered patent. A patent needs to be registered. Normally, patent should have the main ingredients: novelty, applicability, and non-obviousness. And the duration for the patent right is 20 years. The important international convention is the PCT, that is a Patent Cooperation Treaty. The next right is Design Act 2000. This Design Act, the design means the features or a shape, configuration, patterns, ornaments, composition of the lines, colors applied to any particular article, whether it in a two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or a combination, by an industrial process means whether a manual, mechanical, or chemical are separated or combined. Ultimately, this is the Design Act right which is related to a particular item, a finished article, or it may be in process also. So this is generally, the design is solely judged by the eye. Only by a look you know the design. And the duration for this Design Act, the right of the design, is 10 years. The important convention is the Hague Convention 1925 held at Hague. The next right is the Geographical Indication of the Goods, which is called the GI Act, Registration and Protection Act 1999. GI Act is related to the geographical areas. See, many goods in India popular by their place, like a Darjeeling tea, Hyderabad biryani, Mysore silk, like that, something related to the area where it comes as a customs or a traditions, like Banarasi silk or Basmati rice. So these are all the things. This cannot be taken at other place and you produce it. The place, geographical area is having importance in the GI Act. If I produce silk like a Mysore silk, the same silk if I produce in another place, I cannot take as a GI. Only those which are produced in the Mysore silk or a Mysore area only can be taken as a GI. And duration for this also, it is 10 years, but it is renewable like a trademark for every 10 years. There are international conventions, TRIPS is there. The TRIPS, there is a Treaty of the Rights of Intellectual Property Rights, which includes the various other IPRs also. The TRIPS Agreement 1995 refers to the GI Act. Then another act which is mostly related to the farmers agriculturists is the Protection of the Plant Variety and Farmers' Rights Act, which is already called Plant Variety Act. Objective of this particular act is to help the farmers to have some kind of authority on the variety of the seeds they develop in their own way. Many farmers with their different type of a trial and error methods, they try to produce a variety of the plants or seeds, and there is a value addition to those seeds as compared to the one which is other way they were using it. So in this context, a protection of the plant varieties for the farmers is important. Hence this right is recognized, and the act, Protection of the Plant Variety and Farmers Act 2007 is established, is enacted. The duration for this, usually it is 18 years for a new plant variety that is produced, and the 15 years for the extant. Extant means the one which is taken from already existing and modified, that is the extant variety plant. There is an international convention that is again the trade related aspect of the IPR, TRIPS. This particular act was discussed in that. And the last IPR is the Semiconductor Integrated Circuits Layout Design Act. This is something related to the computers and internet, other related semiconductor integrated circuit. This is again which includes the transistors and other circuitry elements, which will ultimately create a lot of the electronic products, electronic gadgets, which is important. And the design is one important thing. Even a minor change in the circuit will have a different product. So this is also an important intellectual property act recognized through the Act 2000. And for this also, the tenure or a limitation for the act right is 10 years. So this is all about the 7 intellectual property rights we have discussed in the brief. And we should know what is the concept of the intellectual property, what is the concept of the right, concept of the ownership, how the intellectual property is varying from the other properties, and what is the national scenario and international scenario, how to protect the rights, what are the legal forums available for this. These are all the things that we need to understand with respect to the IPR. Friends, this is a brief note on IPR. I hope for those who are going for the first time to have the knowledge on IPR, this will be useful. Thank you very much.